My wife secretly had an affair with her boss, and now she's claiming half my $750, $0 inheritance. Trust me, it's like she's trying to steal everything I've worked for. Even our family home is at risk in this twisted legal battle. I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this, but here I am, sitting alone in my house, trying to process how everything I built with my wife, Jessica, is crumbling right in front of me. The craziest part. It all started with a simple text message I accidentally saw on her phone. One innocent-looking notification, but it was enough to blow my entire world apart. Jessica and I have been married for about 7 years. We met in college, and for most of that time I thought we had something solid. Sure, we had our disagreements, but I never doubted her loyalty or love. We bought this house together, built a life, and I was working hard to secure our future, especially since I recently inherited a significant sum, about $750, $0, after my grandfather passed away. That inheritance was supposed to be our safety net, something to help us buy a bigger house, maybe start that family. We kept talking about, but everything changed when I noticed her behavior shift a few months ago. She started working late more often, claiming it was just her job. She'd get defensive when I asked about her whereabouts, and her phone became a secret device she kept hidden. I didn't think much of it at first. Maybe she was stressed, maybe she was just busy. Then I started noticing little things, her phone ringing at odd hours, her deleting messages, even her changing her passwords without telling me. One night I was sitting on the couch, flipping through my emails, trying to catch up on some work stuff when I saw a notification pop up on her phone. It was a message from someone named Mark, and the way she responded was different, flirty even. She called him babe and said she'd see him later that night. My stomach dropped. I couldn't believe what I was reading. My wife Jessica was having an affair with her boss. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I stared at the screen, trying to process the shock. My mind raced. How long had this been going on? How many times? Had she lied to me? That moment was like a switch flipped inside me. I wasn't just hurt, I was furious. I wanted to confront her immediately, but I knew I had to get more proof, so I started digging. I hacked into her email, checked her bank transactions, and found loads of evidence: hotel receipts, secret dinners, and even a few explicit texts and photos. It was worse than I thought. She'd been sneaking around for months, probably since before I even inherited the money. All this time I was working my ass off, thinking we were building a future, while she was out there screwing her boss. That bastard Mark was a known player in her office, always hitting on women, full of himself. And Jessica, she was right there playing along. I felt betrayed, not just as her husband, but as someone who trusted her completely. The worst part was realizing how manipulative she could be. She'd lie about everything, deny any wrongdoing, and make me feel like I was overreacting. She's always been a little bitchy, sharp-tongued, quick to dismiss my feelings, and always defending her actions with some bullshit excuse. But this was beyond anything I expected. I remember sitting there in silence, staring at her phone, feeling a mixture of heartbreak and rage. I wanted to scream at her, to shake her and make her admit what she'd done. But I also knew I had to keep my cool, gather my thoughts, and figure out the next move. I couldn't just blow up and ruin everything without a plan. Still, I knew I couldn't stay silent either. I had to confront her, face her lies, and find out how deep this betrayal went. That's when I started planning. I knew I couldn't just threaten her or throw her out. She'd spin some story, deny everything, and turn the tables on me. No, I needed concrete proof, and I needed to be prepared for whatever came next. And trust me, I wasn't planning on just walking away without a fight. This wasn't just about her cheating. It was about me reclaiming what's mine, including my inheritance, my home, and my dignity. I'll tell you, the anger is still raw. I've been through a whirlwind of emotions: shock, sadness, betrayal, and now, a simmering desire for revenge. I don't want her to get away with this, and I certainly don't want her to think she can just walk all over me. So I started sketching out my plan, knowing that I'd have to be smarter than her, more ruthless in my own way. This isn't just about catching her. It's about making her regret what she's done and taking back control of my life. If you think this is just about a cheating wife, think again. This story is about trust, money, manipulation, and how far a man will go when everything he thought was real turns out to be a lie. And trust me, I'm just getting started. After I gathered all the evidence, screenshots of her texts, bank statements, hotel receipts, I knew I had enough to confront her. But I also knew I had to be careful. Jessica is the type who can spin stories, turn things around, and make herself look like the victim if she feels cornered. I didn't want to give her that chance. I wanted her to face the truth, raw and unfiltered, and I needed her to do it on my terms. That evening, I waited until she came home from work. She walked in, looking irritated, probably because I'd been acting distant for days. I made sure I was calm, collected, not showing any emotion, at least on the surface. She immediately started with her usual bitchy attitude, throwing her purse on the table and snapping, "What's your problem? You've been acting weird lately." I looked her straight in the eyes, kept my voice steady, and said, "We need to talk about us, about your behavior lately." Her eyes flickered with suspicion, but she kept her cool. "What are you talking about? I've been busy with work like I told you. You're paranoid." I pulled out my phone, laid it on the table, and scrolled to the screenshots I'd saved. "No, Jessica, I think you're the paranoid one. I found this." I slid the phone closer to her. Her face instantly changed. She saw the messages, the hotel receipts, the dates. Her eyes widened, and for a moment she looked like she was about to deny everything. But the proof was right there in black and white. She blinked rapidly, trying to come up with an excuse. That's not what it looks like," she stammered. "You're misreading things. Maybe someone hacked my phone." Her voice was defensive, but the crack in her facade was obvious. I was furious, but I kept my voice low and controlled. "You lied to me, Jessica. You've been screwing your boss, Mark, for months. While I've been working my ass off trying to build a future for us, you've been out there fucking around. How long has this been going on? And don't even try to deny it. I have everything documented." Her face twisted with anger and contempt. "You don't know what you're talking about. You're just jealous. Mark's a good man, and I was just having some fun. It doesn't mean anything. You're overreacting." I cut her off. "You've been lying to me, sneaking around behind my back, and now you're calling me jealous. You're the one who's been unfaithful, Jessica. You're the one who's trying to steal my inheritance, my house, everything I've worked for." She scoffed, crossing her arms. "Inheritance, please. That money's mine now, too. You didn't earn it all on your own. You're just mad because I found out how much you're hiding from me." That was the moment I realized she was trying to gaslight me, make me doubt myself, but I wasn't about to let her manipulate her way out of this. I stood up, looked her straight in the eye, and said, "You're done. I want a divorce, Jessica, and I want you out of this house. I'm done pretending I don't see what you're doing." She looked stunned for a second. Maybe she thought I'd be too hurt, too weak to fight back, but I'd reached my limit. I wasn't going to be a victim of her lies anymore. I had plans, I had evidence, and I was ready to fight for what's mine. That night I started thinking about my next steps. She claimed the money was hers now, that she'd take half of everything, even threatened to claim part of my inheritance. That's when I realized I needed to act fast, before she could do any more damage legally. I contacted a lawyer first thing the next morning, and we started drafting a plan. I knew she was planning to twist things, manipulate the situation, and I had to be one step ahead. Jessica kept trying to spin her story, saying I was paranoid, that I was accusing her for no reason. She even told her friends I was controlling and jealous, but I didn't care. The truth was out now, and I was determined to get what's rightfully mine. That includes protecting my inheritance, my house, and my dignity. The more I thought about it, the more I realized she wasn't just cheating on me, she was trying to steal from me. She saw the inheritance as her ticket out, her way to secure her future regardless of what she'd done. That thought made my blood boil. I had worked for every dollar I had, and I wasn't about to let her just take it all away. Now I was planning my revenge, not just to punish her, but to make sure she'd regret ever crossing me. I wasn't just going to kick her out and move on. I wanted her to feel the loss, the betrayal, the pain of losing everything she thought she could get by lying and cheating. I'd come too far to let her win. And trust me, I was about to make her pay in a way she'd never see coming. The day I decided to execute my plan, I could feel the weight of everything crashing down on me. My mind, was racing, trying to figure out how to turn this betrayal into my advantage. Jessica, of course, kept up her act, playing the innocent victim, crying about how I was ruining her reputation, accusing me of being paranoid. But I knew better. I'd seen too much, collected too much evidence. She was a liar, and she was trying to manipulate her way out of this mess. I met with my lawyer that afternoon. We went over everything: the proof I had, her attempts to claim half of my inheritance, her threats to take the house. My lawyer was sharp, knew the law inside and out, and he laid out my options. The main thing was to protect my assets, especially the inheritance I'd worked so hard for. He told me to prepare for a fight, possibly a lengthy legal battle, but I was ready. I wanted her out of my life and out of my house. That evening I sat Jessica down again. This time I was calm but firm. Jessica, this isn't just about the affair anymore. You're trying to steal from me, and I won't let that happen. I have all the proof I need. You're not getting a dime of my inheritance, and you're not staying in this house. We're going to court, and I plan to get everything sorted out legally. She looked at me with that bitchy smirk, the one that says she thinks she's smarter than everyone else. You're overreacting, she spat. You're just jealous because I found someone better. Mark's a real man, not some insecure loser like you. I clenched my fists. That was her typical way of deflecting, insulting, blaming, twisting everything around. But I didn't care about her insults anymore. I knew what she was doing, and I had to be strategic. I told her she could keep lying, keep pretending she was innocent, but I was done playing nice. I told her she could pack her shit and leave, or I'd have my lawyer serve her with papers. The next few days were a whirlwind. Jessica started acting even more bitchy, throwing tantrums, accusing me of ruining her life. She called her friends, told them I was abusive, controlling, and that I was trying to take everything from her. But the truth was out now, and there was nothing she could do to spin her way out of it. I recorded some of her phone calls, just in case she tried to deny her threats or her manipulative lies later. I also reached out to a private investigator. I needed to know if she was planning something, maybe trying to hide or destroy evidence. Turns out, she'd been meeting with her lawyer, trying to find loopholes, trying to figure out how she could claim some of my inheritance or get the house through some legal trick. I wasn't surprised. That's how she always was: slick, manipulative, always trying to get her way. Meanwhile, I made arrangements to get the house appraised. I wanted to make sure I knew exactly what it was worth and how much of it she could potentially claim. I also started looking into refinancing the house, just in case she tried to claim some equity. I wasn't going to let her take my home, not without a fight. One day she threw a fit, screaming at me, calling me a controlling asshole, saying I was ruining her reputation. She even accused me of being unfaithful, which made me laugh bitterly. The irony is, she was the one cheating, and now she was trying to turn the tables. I just stood there, silent, watching her lose her mind. That was the moment I realized I had to get out of this emotionally, or I'd lose myself in her chaos. I made the decision to move out temporarily, not just to clear my head, but to get everything ready for the legal proceedings. I found a small apartment nearby, and I moved my essential stuff there. Jessica stayed in the house, but I knew she was going to be furious when she realized I was serious about cutting her off financially and legally. I also contacted a divorce lawyer. Things were about to get messy, and I wanted to be prepared. I knew she'd fight hard to keep her claws in my assets, especially the inheritance. But I had the evidence, I had the law on my side, and I was determined not to let her get away with it. Throughout all this, I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. How could she do this? How could she lie and cheat her way into my life, and now try to steal everything I had to show for it? It's like she's trying to erase me, to rewrite our life together, as if she's the victim. But I see her for what she is: a manipulative, selfish bitch who thought she could get away with it all. I've learned a lot from this experience, about trust, about the importance of protecting what's yours, and about how some people will do anything to get ahead, even if it means destroying everything they claim to love. I'm not anymore. I know I need to be smarter, more cautious, and ready for whatever she throws my way, because this isn't over, not by a long shot. The legal process moved faster than I expected. probably because I was prepared with all the evidence and a solid lawyer. Jessica, of course, tried everything she could think of to stall or manipulate the situation. Fake tears, accusations, even threatening to ruin my reputation publicly. But I stayed focused. I knew her game, and I refused to be pulled into her chaos. One morning, I received a call from my lawyer, an official notice that Jessica had filed her claim to half of my inheritance and was demanding a court date. She's trying to take half of everything I've worked for, my house, my savings, even the inheritance I got from my grandfather. She's claiming she's entitled because we're married, and somehow she's trying to spin it like I've been neglectful or abusive. It makes me sick to think she's willing to lie her way into a legal battle just to get her hands on my money. I met with my lawyer again, and we discussed the best way to fight her claims. We drafted a response, emphasizing that the inheritance was a separate estate, not community property, and that her affair and manipulative behavior shouldn't influence the court's decision. I also made sure to include all the evidence of her infidelity, her attempts to claim my assets, and her threats to destroy me financially. I wanted the judge to see her for what she really was, a manipulative, selfish person trying to steal my future. Meanwhile, Jessica's attitude shifted. She became more aggressive, more bitchy. She started showing up unannounced at the house, throwing tantrums and demanding I let her stay, claiming she needed to work things out or that she'd change. Yeah, right, I knew her game. She was just trying to wear me down, hoping I'd cave or feel guilty enough to give her what she wanted. But I'd learned my lesson: trust no one, especially her. I also took steps to secure my finances. I closed all joint accounts, changed passwords, and transferred some of my savings into an account I kept hidden from her. I didn't want her to have access to any of my money, especially if she tried to drain my accounts or claim more than she was entitled to. I also started documenting every interaction with her: texts, voicemails, anything that might prove her manipulative tactics later in court. One night she came over again, furious because I refused to let her back in. She was screaming, calling me names, trying to guilt-trip me into letting her stay. But I just stood there, calm and steady, and told her she needed to leave. I made it clear that I wasn't going to be manipulated anymore, that I'd protect my assets, my home, and my inheritance. She looked at me with pure hatred, then stormed out, slamming the door behind her. That's when I finally felt a flicker of relief. I was taking control of my life again. I'd been through hell, but I was fighting back. I knew Jessica wasn't going to give up. Easily, she'd keep trying to spin her lies, manipulate the situation, and maybe even try to blackmail me. But I had my lawyer, my evidence, and a plan. I was ready for whatever she threw at me. In the meantime, I started focusing on myself. I went to therapy to deal with the emotional fallout. It's been a lot: anger, sadness, betrayal. But I realized I needed to heal, to rebuild my confidence and trust in myself. I'd lost a lot, but I wasn't going to let her win by breaking me completely. The most shocking thing I've learned from all this is how far some people will go for money and power. Jessica's not just a cheater. She's a thief in disguise, trying to steal everything I've worked for. And it's not just about the money. It's about respect, trust, and my sense of security. I've come to see her true colors, and I know I can't let her manipulate me anymore. I have a court date coming up soon, and I plan to be fully prepared. I want to make sure the judge sees the full picture, that Jessica's actions, her affair, her threats, and her attempts to claim my inheritance are all part of a bigger pattern of deceit and greed. I won't let her get away with it, not this time. I've fought too hard and come too far to let her take everything from me now. I'm ready to put an end to this chapter and move forward, knowing I did everything I could to protect what's mine. The court date finally arrived, and I can't lie, I was nervous as hell. All the evidence I had gathered, the documentation of her affair, her manipulative threats, her attempts to claim my inheritance, everything was laid out clearly. I knew Jessica would try to spin her version, but I was confident the truth was on my side. Still, seeing her in that courtroom, with her bitchy smirk and that air of entitlement, made my stomach turn. When the judge called the case, I took the stand first. My lawyer presented all the evidence, screenshots, bank statements, hotel receipts, and recordings of her threatening me. I explained how I'd worked tirelessly to earn my inheritance, how Jessica had been secretly cheating, and how she was now trying to steal what was rightfully mine. I emphasized that the inheritance was separate property, that her affair was a betrayal that disqualified her from claiming any part of my estate, and that her manipulative tactics were unacceptable. Jessica's turn came. She sat there, looking smug at first, but as her lawyer questioned her and the evidence was laid bare, her composure started cracking. She tried to deny everything, claiming I was paranoid, that Mark was that I was controlling her. But her lies didn't hold up. The judge saw through her. It was clear she was trying to manipulate the court, just like she'd manipulated me for months. After hours of testimony and evidence review, the judge finally made a ruling. He sided with me, declaring that the inheritance was my separate property, and Jessica had no legal claim to it. He also ordered her to pay court costs and warned her about her manipulative tactics. The judge told her she could appeal, but for now, I felt a huge weight lift off my shoulders. That moment was a turning point. Jessica's bitchy facade faded a little, replaced by a look of shock and anger. She knew she'd lost the legal battle, but she refused to accept it gracefully. She hissed at me as she left the courtroom. "You'll regret this. I'll get what I want, one way or another." I just watched her go, knowing I'd done everything I could to protect myself. Back home, I felt exhausted but victorious. The court's decision meant she couldn't claim half my estate or the house. I could finally start rebuilding my life without her constant manipulations hanging over me. But I also knew Jessica wouldn't go quietly. She was the kind of person who'd try to sabotage me outside the courtroom, maybe even try to blackmail or threaten me again. I took precautions, changed all my passwords, hired a security system, and told my lawyer to prepare for any future legal or personal attacks. I also started the process of officially divorcing her. The whole thing was draining, but I knew I had to finish what I started. Throughout this process, I learned some hard truths. Trust is fragile, and some people will do anything for money and control. Jessica's betrayal cut deep, not just because she cheated, but because she tried to steal my future, my inheritance, everything I worked so hard for. It's a brutal lesson, but one I needed to learn. Now, I'm focused on healing. I've moved out of the house for good, and I'm slowly rebuilding my life. I've started dating again, but I'm more cautious now, more aware of how dangerous people can be when they're driven by greed. I realize I have to protect myself, emotionally and financially, from people who only see me as a stepping stone or a source of money. I still think about Jessica sometimes, how she lied, manipulated, and tried to take everything from me. It's a bitter taste, but I refuse to let her define me anymore. I've come through this storm, and I know I'll be stronger on the other side. If there's one thing I want others to take away from this, it's this. Be vigilant about who you trust, protect your assets, and don't let anyone manipulate you into giving up what's rightfully yours. People like Jessica will do anything to get ahead, but with the right evidence, legal support, and a clear plan, you can fight back and come out on top. I did, and I'm finally starting to feel like I've reclaimed my life. Looking back now, I realize how much this whole ordeal has changed me. I used to trust blindly, believe in fairness, and think that honesty and loyalty mattered most. But Jessica's betrayal shattered that illusion. I learned the hard way that some people are only out for themselves, willing to lie, cheat, and manipulate right up to the point where they can take everything you've built. The final months have been a whirlwind, legal battles, emotional, and a constant fight to keep my footing. But through it all, I discovered something crucial: my own resilience. I found strength I didn't know I had, especially when I was faced with Jessica's bitchy accusations, her tantrums, and her attempts to ruin me. I refused to be her victim, and that decision made all the difference. Now I'm finally free from her. The court's ruling was a victory, not just legally but emotionally. It confirmed what I always knew deep down, that I deserved better, that I was worth more than her lies and manipulations. I've moved out of the house, started fresh, and begun rebuilding my life on my own terms. I've taken control back, piece by piece. One of the biggest lessons I've learned from all this is to be cautious about who I trust with my heart and my assets. Jessica's greed blinded her, but it also opened my eyes to the importance of protecting what's mine. I've since put stronger safeguards in place, legal, financial, and emotional, to prevent anyone from pulling this kind of stunt again. I also want to say to anyone out there who might be dealing with a similar situation, don't ignore the signs. Red flags don't always mean cheating, but if your partner starts acting secretive, defensive, or manipulative, pay attention. Gather evidence if you have to, and don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. Trust is built over years, but it can be destroyed in a moment if you're not careful. And for those who think love and loyalty are enough, remember, actions speak louder than words. If someone is hiding things, lying to you, or trying to take what isn't theirs, it's not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their character. Protect yourself, stand your ground, and don't let anyone make you feel guilty for wanting what's fair. Finally, I want to say that I forgive myself for trusting Jessica once. I forgive her for what she did, not because she deserves it, but because I refuse to carry that anger forever. Holding on to bitterness only keeps you chained to the past. Instead, I choose to focus on my future, better, stronger, and more aware. This experience has been brutal, but it's also been a wake-up call. It's taught me to value myself more, to see through lies, and to never let anyone take advantage of me again. I've learned that sometimes the best revenge is simply walking away and rebuilding from the ground up, knowing you did everything you could, and that you're finally free. So if you're out there feeling betrayed, hurt, or lost, know this: you're not alone, and you have the power to take back control, to fight for what's yours, and to come out stronger on the other side. Trust is precious, but so is your peace of mind. Never settle for less than what you deserve.